Wyomissing Zoning Hearing Board to order. We're here today to review the notice of application of variance from R.M. Palmer. Kelsey Frankowski is here on behalf of R.M. Palmer, owner of the property located at 700 Van Reed Road and 800 Van Reed Road, and is identified by its tax parcel number. And they're requesting a variance approval under the following sections of the Borough of Wyomissing zoning ordinance. Section 544, area, yard, and height requirements to allow an increase in impervious coverage of 88.35% from the existing 80.12%, where a maximum impervious coverage is required of 60%. To allow a side yard setback of 10 feet along the southern property line, where a minimum side yard setback of 50 feet is required. And to allow a decrease in open area coverage from 19.8 to 11.65, where the minimum open area required is 40%. From section 703.2, non-conforming uses of land, to allow the enlargement of an existing non-conforming land use as the existing manufacturing use is not permitted in the I-1 Office Research Park Zoning District. Section 703.6, non-conforming uses of land, to allow the erection of a building addition on a property that accommodates a non-conforming land use. 704.3, non-conforming buildings or structures, to allow the enlargements of a non-conforming structure in a manner that will result in a greater degree of dimensional non-conformance. 705.3, non-conforming uses of buildings or structures, to allow the enlargement of a structure in a manner that will not comply with all zoning regulations of the district in which it is located. 705.4, non-conforming uses of buildings or structures, to allow the expansion of non-conforming use beyond the footprint of the existing buildings. Okay, before we begin, I'd like to introduce the people at this side of the table. Anderson Deutschman, I did that right?
Yes.
Do you go by a nickname, Anderson?
Andy sometimes.
Andy sometimes?
Yeah.
What do you prefer?
Anderson.
Okay, you're Anderson then. You know Michelle, and Bob Ullman is a member of the Zoning Hearing Board. Najla Batish is a member of the Zoning Hearing Board. Dan Becker is counsel, and I'm David Rothmull. I'm the chairman of the Zoning Hearing Board. Mr. Becker is going to tell us how we're gonna do what we're gonna do today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. All right, so what I'm going to do is go over the procedures. Ms. Frankowski, you've been here many times before, so I think you understand the process. I assume that you've also explained them to your client.
That's correct.
I see you have two people here with you today. One is a familiar face, Mr. Noggle. The other gentleman I don't know. Is he with R.M. Palmer?
He is. His name is Robert Burkhardt, and he will be testifying.
Okay, so we're going to have two witnesses from you?
That's correct.
All right, so let me explain, and particularly to the representative from Palmer, the way the proceeding will work. Today is Palmer's burden of proof to explain why the relief that they're requesting should be granted. You can do that by presenting testimony and exhibits, and Ms. Frankowski will help you with that presentation. What will happen is, as she calls witnesses, the witnesses will make their statements. At the conclusion of their direct examination, the board members and members of the public will also have the opportunity to ask questions. After all of your witnesses for Palmer have been taken a stand and presented their evidence, we'll see if there's any other evidence or witnesses that would like to take the stand from the neighbors or anybody else who's present here today. We will also, if there's others in the membership here today that are not interested in standing, we will ask if they want to just make an unsworn statement. After all the testimony has been presented, the Zoning Hearing Board will go into an executive session to deliberate. That session length will depend upon the case, and we typically will come back and render an oral decision, but we don't always do that. We have 45 days in which to do that. Do you or counsel, do you have any questions about how we intend to proceed today?
No questions from council.
All right. I also see there's two other members of the public. Are you interested in presenting testimony or just making a statement at the end of the information that's presented today?
Neither for me.
Okay, you're just here to
Neither
observe?
for me, I just was here, I'm here to see what is being done.
Okay, Ma'am?
The same here, I have questions, but
Okay.
I'm just curious as to what specifically will be
So
going
you're not asking for standing today, then, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Yes, sir.
I just told you what I want to
Mr.
do.
Janik, so yeah, before the meeting, you said you wanted to make a statement at the
Correct.
end regarding, I guess, some issues concerning sidewalk, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And as I read it, I might have some questions.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
So, at this point in time, then, there's no one else requesting standing. What we will do is, we will then move forward with the hearing, and at the appropriate time, we'll contact each of you to make your statements or ask your questions. Ms. Frankowski, do you have any questions before we begin?
I don't have any questions. I do have one subject of housekeeping. The application itself indicates that RM Palmer Company LLC is the owner of the real estate. It is not. So I would ask, I would make a motion to amend the application to include the name of the actual owner of the real estate, which is Confectionery Real Estate LLC.
I saw that on the plan. I was wondering how you're going to address that, so that's good to have that taken care of. I don't believe there's any objection to that change in ownership, but you have some kind of deed to verify that? we're going to
I have a
do?
lease agreement to present between the landlord, owner, and tenant.
So just for clarification, Michelle, can you scroll back up there again? So then the owner is Confectionery Real Estate LLC, and Palmer will be the tenant, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions or objections to that? Okay. So if you would, then I would turn this over to you, and you can start with your case.
Okay, Kelsey Frankowski on behalf of the applicant, RM Palmer Company LLC, and I would call Robert Burkhart as my first witness.
I guess
Excuse
before
me.
you,
Yeah, I was gonna, Kelsey, if you could just have your two witnesses sworn, and at the same time, we'll have Anderson and Michelle sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
And you can come have a seat here, that way you can address the board directly.
Thank you.
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Robert Burkhart, I go by Bob, it's fine. Address 19 Glenmiller Drive, Breckmont Township.
And how are you employed?
Project engineer, sorry. Is that what you're asking what this, yes. So I started Palmer as an engineer, and 15 years or so ago, they reassigned me to be plant manager of this facility. And then after the explosion, we lost our other plant manager in West Reading, and they decided to put me in charge of the engineering project to bring equipment from West Reading into the current facility and also look at putting addition in. So I'm back in the engineering role.
Okay, and just for clarification on the record, when we say Palmer, we're referring to the applicant RM Palmer Company LLC. And when you say this site, are you referring to the site that's the subject of this application, which is 700 and 800 Van Reed Road?
Correct.
And so you've been tasked with overseeing the project that is the subject of the zoning application, is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
And we already discussed that the project is with respect to 700 and 800 Van Reed Road and Wyomissing, as well as 1 Van Reed Road too, correct?
Yes. I don't know where one is. I didn't know existed until this came up.
Okay.
To be honest with you. But yes,
And you're familiar generally with those properties?
I am.
Okay, I'm gonna show you, what's gonna be marked as applicant's exhibit 1. Michelle's gonna pull that up. Are you familiar with this document?
With the lease itself?
Yes.
I know we're leasing it from Confection Real Estate. but as
Okay, so
far as-
you're aware that the actual owner of the property is Confectionery Real Estate LLC?
Correct,
And you are aware that Palmer leases the properties from that entity in order to operate?
yes.
Okay. And you've seen this lease before, right?
Yes, I didn't read it page by page, but I've seen it before.
Okay. And pursuant to, I'll just show you a copy of it. Pursuant to, section D on the first page of this lease, is the lease for an initial term of 10 years.
That's my understanding, yes.
All right, so they'll be there for a while.
Yes. So-
And the lease is dated, March 13th of 2023, correct?
Correct.
All right. I'm just gonna ask, to show you exhibit A2, applicants 2. Do you recognize that as an aerial view of the 3 properties in question?
I do.
And I'd like to talk about the property labeled as 700 Van Reed Road on this exhibit first.
Mhm.
Can you see the little red 700 on this document?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanna talk about what exists on all three properties. So what,
Excuse me a minute, I can't see where you're talking about the 700, the
Is there a
red
pointer
mark
on that
is.
It's in that drawer, but it's not gonna show up on that.
I can give you, I have a printed copy that you can see, so. You see the little red 700?
Yeah, that's very little, even right up at my face. And this is the 800?
Yeah.
Okay, just so, and then what's this one?
There's a little side piece over here that would be.
Okay, and what is this?
That's, 1090.
That's not part of it.
Okay, so we're talking.
Okay,
You can-
Councilman, let's just
Okay,
proceed.
thank you.
Ma'am, if you need to move up, you can move up, you can actually see it up here on the screen.
You know, I can't, that's very unclear, this is clear for me, just the numbers were not, I couldn't see.
Okay, if you need to move over there, you can move over there too, so we'll let you
Okay,
sit
well,
over there.
if I have, yeah, if I find
Sure.
that I can't
Okay.
follow, I will do that, thank you.
Please proceed, Council.
All right, so talking about the 700 Van Reed Road property first, what currently exists on that lot?
We have some warehousing also, that's where our corporate office centers are temporarily.
Okay, when you say temporarily, what do you mean?
Late November, we should be moving to a new corporate center at Wyomissing. It's, Reed Avenue.
So the corporate offices will not be located in 700 anymore and will be moving, but the warehousing in 700 would still exist.
That is correct, yes.
And there's obviously on that property, is there parking as well?
Yes, there is.
How many parking spaces, do you know?
Not off the top of my head, I'm gonna say maybe a couple dozen.
Okay, we'll let Mr. Noggle testify to that.
Okay.
Moving on to the 800 property, which is directly adjacent to the 700 property. What currently exists on that lot?
We have warehousing and manufacturing, and then also the primary parking lot for employees of the company.
Can you keep your voice up just a little?
Sorry, okay.
Sorry.
All right, so, is the use, I know you said the use of the 700 property is going to change slightly. Is the use of the property located at 800 going to change at all once, hopefully, this proposed addition is constructed?
No,
So that use will stay the same?
that's correct.
All right, and pursuant to the application, Palmer is proposing to build approximately a 25,000 square foot warehouse within the footprint of 700 and 800 Van Reed Road.
Yes,
And they're also going to construct a 14-space parking lot, is that accurate?
correct, if approved.
So I'll get more technical information about that kind of stuff with the engineer, but I just want to talk to you about operations.
Okay.
What will the proposed building be used for?
Warehousing?
Just warehousing?
Yes,
Okay, no manufacturing will go in there?
at this time, no.
Okay. And if you do decide to put manufacturing there, you realize that you would have to come back before this board?
Yes.
Okay. Will the hours of operation change at all for any of the properties at these locations when or if the new building is constructed?
No. Right now, the 700 Van Reed address, we have the corporate center there, delivered till maybe 5 or 5:30 at night. When they go to the new location, they go back to normal warehousing, which is typically done by 3 o'clock in the afternoon at that location.
Okay, so no large changes in hours of operation.
Correct.
What about employees? Are there gonna be any new employees that you anticipate to add if you're able to construct the proposed building?
At this time, no. They'd be the same, no employees per shift, well, excluding the corporate center. That's 35 to 40 people that be going to the new location, but it's otherwise for the 800, it'll be the normal headcount we have now.
What about with respect to the new warehouse though? Wouldn't you add employees for the proposed warehouse?
At this point, no.
You would just move employees over?
Correct, yes, yes.
Is there a particular reason that Palmer has the need for this proposed building?
When we lost West Redding's facility, we lost maybe half of our manufacturing capability. And we are proposing to bring some of our production lines from West Redding into the 800 location. To do that, we're gonna lose about 25,000 square foot of warehousing space. And by putting this addition on, we'll gain back the warehousing that we lost and will help tremendously with the efficiency and running of the factory.
Okay, so more manufacturing will be located in 800, and then the warehousing from that facility would get moved over to the proposed structure.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
And did Palmer hire a registered architect or civil engineer to prepare plans for the additional
So Council,
building?
excuse me for 1 second, because now I'm confused. I thought there was testimony that there was not going, was only warehousing in 800. So,
There's warehousing and manufacturing in 800.
okay, but you had asked him the question, are you gonna come back if you want more manufacturing in 800? He said yes. So he's asking for manufacturing in 800 now?
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay,
So my understanding is that there's going to continue to be manufacturing in 800.
Right,
So there's existing manufacturing in 800.
there is.
That manufacturing will still remain there.
Correct.
Okay. They're not asking to expand the manufacturing in 800,
At this time, no.
but you're asking to add the addition for the purpose of warehousing only.
Correct.
And if you expand into the proposed addition, that's when you would come back in if you wanted to expand manufacturing into the new addition.
Yes, correct.
I don't understand. You've got you're manufacturing in 800 now.
Yes,
You're gonna move lines over from West Reading. You have to expand, you're obviously not gonna move the lines without expanding your manufacturing.
correct.
So you are expanding your manufacturing.
At this point, no, not until we get approval to install molding lines in the building. So the section that we're gonna build onto, about 25,000 square feet, will replace the warehousing that we will lose if we're given a permit to add more manufacturing from West Reading into Wyomissing.
And you haven't received that permit yet?
Correct.
Okay. And when do you expect to receive it, or have you applied for it?
Spot Stevens and McCoy is going to put the permit in, I think, this week to, we met with Kraft last Friday to review what we're doing.
Okay, so at this point, you're not seeking to have more manufacturing move into 800 Van Reed Road?
Dan, can we go off the record for a second?
We can, but I'm not sure why. Is there? So, let's, I mean, if you're gonna start trying to provide clarification.
No, I think there then may be something missing from this application.
Okay, so, let's get it on the record, let's get it right on the record, so just explain.
I mean, if what you're asking for is not for an expansion of the non-conforming use for additional manufacturing, that needs to be, Kraft can't issue a permit until the zoning hearing board weighs in on that as well. Because it's all grandfathered non-conforming uses.
So now maybe we wanna go off the record for you to talk to your client about whether we proceed today or whether you want to amend your application.
And re-advertise in a way that's, yeah. Let's go.
So off the record.
Thank you.
So I see. And then I said, and the two of us were building some papers like
So Jim, who are
Yeah,
you
if you
here for?
do
Jim?
Me, 1050 Spring. Our office is right up in, it's a neighbor to the west. Yeah.
How you doing,
Don't worry,
Jim?
Bob. Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And also, it's good to be seen. It's always good to be seen.
Got it. Jim, are you looking for Stan?
Yeah.
Are you requesting Stan?
Am I requesting Stan? Yes.
Okay, so we go back and we can make that request.
Since we're off the record, can I ask something? That, no, yeah, we're off.
Directed to the gentleman at the corner.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Should be concerned. I don't think the community realizes.
The gentleman in the corner is the solicitor. Dan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Dan, can I ask, before off the record, can I ask some questions?
So they're not gonna be on the record, so.
Yeah, I know.
So what's the question?
I'm just curious, so, because it looks like there was a misunderstanding, he said he was not gonna expand manufacturing, but that, it seems to me that it's together
That's
with
what we're trying to figure out.
West Reading.
Yeah, I just want to look at something really fast like that.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
We just need to know the percentage they're expanding.
So,
Because otherwise it could just be a larger.
Yeah, because
And that was
Yeah,
very
right.
helpful, sorry, just to make it clear, it's manufacturing too.
I have this as comparing to the
That's correct. And that like wasn't included in it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And that's exactly what I was just checking, I was like, getting this for just a general.
Yeah, well, I mean,
If I don't, I ain't Frank yet.
so Anderson does review before they use numbers on the application. There's this section that's in the web too, that they either need to provide the square footage to show it's not really because then it's right, yes, but they didn't ask for the variance, nothing.
I wouldn't think you're just.
You also provide a breakdown in this for now.
Can you show
There's a plan with their breakdown in what the areas are used for.
currently?
This is proposed, so this is 25,000 square feet was converted from warehousing to manufacturing. So there's this here, 14 here. But we're gonna add to this, you're saying manufacturing, and this is the warehouse. So. It's something. Correct, but it's the legend, yeah, this is existing warehouse being converted to manufacturing.
Okay.
All three are
Well,
met.
I'm just gonna, so I'm gonna talk to them about scheduling these two for Kelsey.
Yeah.
These are kind of the names.
Robert Coleman,
Conditional use application and zoning hearing application for the warehouse.
Oh, they should have a plan.
Yes. Yes, so Kelsey's representing all of them. So I'm gonna try and get these all on November 8th, but that's subject to her feedback from
Okay, for this company.
and then when I gave you the plan sets for this presentation, I gave you all 7 copies.
Oh.
Which means I just need 2 back updates, or I just need 2 for
They're
the.
just, they're still trying to figure out what they're gonna do, so I don't think they're still working through the math.
to me, it kind of sounds like it's an incremental ask. Okay, now we want
Well, but they may
this,
end up
and
back-
then we're gonna just a little tweak.
Right, but then they may end up back here again.
Yeah, but then it's, if it's, you know, it's 1 millimeter down and
That's
it's
right. So
it's
then
not a
that's up to
meter
them.
afterwards.
I'm here, that's pretty quickly. I'll be right back.
Oh, if we did this, how about we did a little?
It's I can, but it's a unisex bathroom, so.
I'll wait then.
But in my role.
No, he's down
No,
here.
it's not.
He's down here.
It's the law, there's a.
And that's why God created.
I'm one of the lawyers.
Oh, okay, I know what's going, that's the one right behind three.
Yeah, because it's a 3A.
Insurance companies don't have to cover it. Some idiot was making.
No, actually, but I hate to disagree with you, but
Park district.
the other reason is that
Manufacturer.
insurance companies will do.
I don't know how they got
But
away
they're,
with that.
they're transiting,
I know, that, I don't
I say that, it's not a disagreement.
I say that as a lawyer, I come from a firm of
I would think
insurance
so.
lawyers.
I mean, I'm sure they just.
I was trying to-
But then to add on and add on, now you're really changing everything, and then you're surrounded by those RD 1, 2, 3,
I walked in
we have
for
all these
for
development areas surrounding it, a little tiny, you know, small area. Yeah.
I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It seems like it's an older building.
So, okay, so you're saying, right, so
And then
if
they
it was
just cleaned it.
manufacturing, they changed it that way,
What happened?
so that
I think
they
Liability.
jamming is still jamming on.
before Palmer.
What's that?
I think Atri and Nabisco.
Like your clock. Oh, there was probably.
My
Yeah,
memory.
I think you're right, the Atri, I definitely remember.
And that was my.
Well, this is good, because I had that happen.
And that's right, so did they change it from manufacturing to?
Yes, it's not.
Keep it on, at the time it gave them some barrel.
How long? That's why I ended up as the worst lawyer, because those after meeting and
Before even zoning.
it's never boring.
Yeah.
Dan Becker?
Yes, sir.
If you know, if you don't know, that's fine, but there's a question, and Dan Becker knows 99% of everything, so.
Thanks, Jim.
The quick question I've got for you, Dan, is do you know offhand if the manufacturing use of this lot was grandfathered in from a pre-existing use that existed before the zoning ordinance? Or if there was a prior application made?
I don't know the answer to that question, as part of what we established here today.
Okay,
So I don't know if it was pre-existing zoning or if it was pre-existing
Do you wanna
zoning
use the
change
restroom?
okay,
or what the story is.
that's my call.
Which then,
Can we tell Michelle and Jim with that?
yeah.
But our plan is to ask for a continuance today so
So
that
why
we
don't we
can
start looking at some
confirm with
dates,
our
let's start looking at
engineer.
some dates right now. What we can reschedule. Michelle, we're gonna need some dates.
My biggest, I know November 8th is good for the stenographer, but not potentially for Kelsey.
Well, how about for Lisa, since she's here, are you still, Lisa, able to come back?
What's the date? I'm sorry, wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah, no, we don't have a date yet, we're looking for a date probably after
So
the
it ha-
16th or later,
It's gonna have to be at least 2 weeks out, yeah.
so the 16th or later.
So the room is not gonna be available the 17th or 18th. The 19th would work. The 23rd, 24th, the 25th.
About the 20th,
If you don't need me,
or you're not gonna be?
no. Um, 26th.
I can't work that day, it's my birthday.
We can have a party for you.
Then bring us some candy.
Yeah, that's right, Palmer candy.
Bunnies,
Yeah.
It's not a bribe, it's a birthday gift.
yes.
It's under $50, technically you don't have to report it.
How about the 26th?
$49.99.
26.
I can do the 26th.
Yeah, I can.
Kelsey?
Would it be 3 o'clock or what, I don't know what time.
We usually do 1, 2, or 3, depending on,
I'm gonna have a hard stop at 4:30,
okay, so,
but
I've got a budget meeting at 3:30, but I could do 2. I think I could make my meeting day.
2 words.
Is that okay with you guys? I mean,
Jim?
We'll start at
Wow,
1:30.
I'm gonna have economic development, finance,
Yeah.
zoning hearing,
we're gonna have a day of meetings.
my favorite.
What was the date you were circulating again?
October.
26th at 2
26th.
PM.
October. Just to be clear, that's October.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, isn't I feel like
Yeah,
that's
I won't be
Thanksgiving
here,
and all I
but-
like it
I won't be here, but that's,
Don't
you
let
have
me win.
Jeff's for your work.
So even worse, that would be
Associated.
Saturday, and while I really like all of you, not that
Don't
much.
hold it up for me.
Michelle, you gotta send that out.
Yes.
Are you gonna start at 2 or
Do
earlier?
you have somebody that you can ask?
I can try.
If not, I can ask my other person.
So,
I'm
26
not
at 2
available.
p.m.
Okay.
So
Let me check with
26 to-
Robin, and if she can't do it,
Okay. Call me.
we'll do.
'Cause I'll-
So you're recording this now, we're continuing, right?
Then I guess from you, I just need a revised memo, but that doesn't have to get advertised.
I guess I'm gonna have to tell them that. So it's surprise.
Exactly.
So wait, are we holding it on your birthday?
We are.
26th?
Yeah, so cupcakes.
I will have something to do.
All right. So,
Thank you.
Jim, before you leave, we're gonna go back in the record, you can enter your appearance, you can ask requests for standing. We'll go through some, if Kelsey has any questions about that, and then you can go.
Wonderful,
Then
thank
we'll
you.
continue the hearing until the
Right.
26th at 2 p.m. Okay, so is there anything else before we go back on the record? All right, hearing none, then let's go back on the record. All right, after a brief recess, there was discussion among the members of the zoning hearing board and the applicant, as well as another resident who has attended the meeting to request standing. So let's start with the standing issue. Mr. Smith, if you would like to just enter your appearance and make your request for standing.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Becker. My name is James M. Smith. I'm an attorney, and I'm also a part owner at 1050 Spring LLC, which is the owner of the real estate immediately to the northwest of the subject property, and I'm requesting standing.
Okay, and so you are adjoining this property?
And
Okay. Ms. Frankowski, any objection to?
I have no objection, I think he meets the requirements for standing.
He does. So, Mr. Smith, you will have standing.
thank you.
The next part of the discussion that was off the record was the applicant has looked at the current application and has decided they would like to potentially make an amendment to the application. And consequently, they're going to request some time to go through that application to determine whether or not they need that additional relief that may be required. So they are asking for a continuance of this hearing. We're going to continue to date certain on October 26th at 2 p.m. Now, Ms. Frankowski, you may, if you come back and you are looking for additional relief that's beyond what was already advertised, we may need to re-advertise for that purpose.
I understand, I think that based on what we've asked for, with respect to 703.2, enlargement of an existing non-conforming use, I think we've requested that as far as warehousing goes. I think that if there is an issue with us needing relief from the manufacturing portion, we would probably need, that's a separate portion of the zoning ordinance, I think. So, we'll take a look at it and we'll
Okay.
make a decision.
So just work with Michelle on that. If they make a determination that it is additional relief, then we just do an advertisement to re-advertise that additional relief.
Sounds good, I will do that.
Okay? All right, is there any other business to come before, oh, you know what, you wanna, well, no. We can do some of the administrative exhibits, why don't we do that now, just so we have them on the record, so we don't have to do that at the next hearing. Mr. Smith, you may be excused.
Thank
All right, so at this point in time, Michelle, if you're ready to proceed, you've been sworn. So in your capacity as the zoning officer, the
Nope.
commercial
Nope.
secretary for the zoning hearing board.
Yep.
All right. What are your duties and responsibilities?
I prepared a public notice that was advertised in the Running Eagle on September 19th and September 26th of 2023. That same notice was posted on the subject property on September 13th of 2023 at approximately 10 a.m. and was mailed to all adjacent property owners located within at least 300 feet of the subject property on September 1st of 2023 at approximately 11:30 a.m.
And is that the notice that was read into the record a few
Yes.
minutes ago?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll mark that as board exhibit number 1.
Lisa, do you want the hard copies? I sent you a list.
I have copies that you said.
So why don't we just mark them as board 1? You hang on to them for right now, so they'll be in your possession. Do you have any other information as the secretary for the zoning hearing board?
I do not.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess it's now Anderson's turn. Anderson, in your capacity as the zoning officer for the borough of Wyomissing, what are your duties and responsibilities?
I prepared the memo to the zoning hearing board dated September 11th, 2023.
Okay, and do you have a copy of that with you this afternoon?
I did.
And we'll mark that as board exhibit number 2,
She has it.
Okay.
all right? And again, we'll have the borough maintain the originals of that one as well. They'll be marked as board exhibit number 2. Do you have any further information for the board in your capacity as the zoning officer?
No.
All right. What zoning ordinance was in effect at the time of the application?
The one that was printed, I'm sorry, printed January of 2022. Do you also want to enter the application?
So what we'll do for the zoning ordinance, we're gonna mark that, but we're not gonna move that into evidence. And then also, we have a copy of the application, and who wants to introduce that for?
I can as the
All right.
secretary.
So as the secretary for the zoning hearing board, Michelle, you have a copy of the application,
I do, it was received on August 7th of 2023.
and does that application contain all the exhibits that were presented at the time of the filing of the application?
At the time of the filing, yes, Ms. Frankowski entered some additional exhibits today that were not part of that, which I will send to you electronically.
But are they part of the application, were they supplementing the application, or were they exhibits that she's going to present at the time of hearing?
The exhibits, they're supplementary to the application, but also that I'm gonna present
Okay. So
during
we'll-
my direct.
So if you can get us a complete set, we'll mark that as board exhibit number 4, which is a copy of the application with the supplemental exhibits. And then Ms. Frankowski, when we reconvene on the 26th, if you can identify them and just go through them in the ordinary course, and we can identify them specifically as applicants' exhibits if necessary,
Sure.
okay? All right, is there any further business before we recess this hearing?
I have a question. Referring back to the origins of the Palmer move to this property, did manufacturing begin when you moved to the property, or was that something that began later?
The 800 Vandy Road property was
Yes.
700.
Both.
Both.
So we purchased the 700 about 2015, and that was owned by Nabisco at the time. I'm not sure what they used that building for, whether it was manufacturing or housing, that I can't answer. The 800 Vandy Road was originally built in the late 60s and was started as a warehouse, and we had additional expansions for manufacturing in that area then.
And when was that?
I don't have those dates in front of me, apologize.
Okay.
So there'll be questions, Ms. Frankowski, I think the board will want to know more about when we reconvene.
And we will gather that information to satisfy the board.
Great, so thank you very much. All right, with any other questions? Hearing none, then we will stand in recess.
Thank you.
Michelle, I just said that will, see,
We do, another one.
Take me on the two.
It's about 15 minutes.
You better break the news for a gentleman.
Do you need to mark these, like actually mark these?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your vacation, Kelsey.
I will.
Are you, that's after or before?
That's after,
Oh, that's
so
after.
you can wish me.
Wish you next
Yes.
Can you let me just know that, I did get the public notice.
Yeah, I'll fill you in on.
Did we close it?
things.
Yes.